Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I'm your host for today's episode. And today I have Patrick Stone, CEO of TradeStone QA, as my guest. We're going to be learning about his business, his journey to business ownership, best practices that he's learned, as well as challenges he may have faced to give you that inside look to what it's like to own and operate a business. And welcome to the show, Patrick. It is so great to meet you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Kay, and thank you to all your listeners and those in the future that may be stumbling upon this podcast. I appreciate your time.
Of course. Well, before we dive into all things business, I'd love to share with the audience a little bit about you. So feel free, share a bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am from San Antonio, well, since I was 5 years old, and went to high school there, college there, and worked as a clinical chemist during my grad school time for a couple years. And my dad is a pharmacist, so I was kind of in the healthcare business mindset. And then I got recruited by FDA to go to Houston and worked for 13 years with the agency, traveling around the world doing clinical research, audits, inspections of institutional review boards, animal model clinics, laboratories. And then they moved me into drug manufacturing audits, which was a big leap. And then I got a couple of really big fraud cases on the laboratory side, which ProPublica did a couple of articles on in 2011. And then, so I lived in Houston, my family was in Austin, and on a government salary, it's not very easy to maintain a couple of residents, two homes. So I wanted to transfer, and that didn't really go well with the bosses. So I had to put in a grievance to move. I was moved. The union helped me with that, and um, then they kind of diminished my role. I just got a national expert rating for my clinical research work, and was doing that internationally for at least a decade. And so I decided to separate from the agency and start my own business. So that's where we come in as the entrepreneurship. Now, as I just said, I had two residences I was maintaining. Um, really didn't have. I was basically, living check to check per se, or living two checks ahead, and that wasn't probably the optimal way to start a business and write a book. So I wrote a book about the agency. Just kind of wanted to de-agency myself, kind of a relief valve. And I wrote about agency issues. The book also has things about clinical trial research. So if you're in a compromised state and you have to do a clinical research, phase 3 research because you have cancer or some sort of disease that is terminal, it gives you a little bit of flavor about what you're in for, what you should look at in a clinical research trial. So it has some patient perspective in there. But I mainly produced it for when I get a question, well, why should I hire you? Why should my drug company hire you to help us get to market? And so I hand them the book and I say, well, I have a few reasons in here. And, here's some ProPublica articles, et cetera. So those background things really helped, but not having any venture capital or startup money, that was the hard part,
Mm,
and not getting a consult for the first 9 months. And a lot of my ex-FDA consultant partners told me it's going to be a minute, so occupy yourself with something. So I figured I'd write a book, and that did occupy my time for a good while. And I really haven't stopped working ever since that book was published and out. And most of my clients are repeat clients. And I got some training from some they're called reviewers. So when you're an inspector, you learn how to do inspections. You don't really understand the review aspect, but these two, one from the Center for Drugs and one from the Center for Biologics, they taught me how to look at a dossier from a review perspective, which really helped because most of my clients don't really want a inspector type mindset. They want the review mindset because they want to get to market. And the inspector just does the inspection on site. They don't really grant you approval or tell you whether your safety profile is adequate or enough, or they're comfortable with your data that you've submitted. They can only go by the compliance program guide and the laws that govern them, and they don't really make any decisions. So that really helped a lot. And for the past since 2011, past 14 years, I've gone international many times for my clients. A lot of my work is drug manufacturing related, and then I would say 60%, and then 40% is the clinical trial review stuff. And lately, I've been getting a lot of market application reviews. So when a company has a new product and they've gone through all their clinical research trials, they want to submit to have a place in our market at the pharmacy or at the over the counter, however they want to present their product. And I run them through a mock inspection. What every stage. So the clinical trial stage, where we go to their clinical research sites, and then the headquarters for their clinical research information. And then finally, the third inspection piece is their drug manufacturing. Are they ready for commercialization?
Mm.
So in a nutshell, that's a bit about my background. There's quite a bit more to what I do now. I've gotten into expert witness services as well. So going to court or presenting reports in court of information dealing with whether it's drug manufacturing or I've also gone to mediation, NCAA mediation for banned substances, and that was a successful venture. The individual was exonerated and cleared, and they were able to go on to play their last year of their senior year of football and go on to the NFL. So I've done a lot of different things, and I've ventured into different services, and I'm actually getting ready to open a clinical research site here in Austin. So what I do alone for the most part. Right, and my business model is a sole owner operator.
Hmm.
So I'm not contributing as much as I would like to the community, to having employees or providing jobs. And so I'm partnering with a group to open a clinical research site in Austin, and we're getting the contracting ready. So I don't have it on LinkedIn yet or anything, but for the past year and a half, I've been working on this new venture, and I hope to host a lot of my clients that I've worked for as a consultant, host their clinical research trials to for their new products. So I think that's a major theme that, once you start becoming a entrepreneur, you kind of don't stop. It's not
Yeah.
not good enough to just stay in that one thing or do that one service that you started your business model with. And you know, the good thing about being a sole owner is you can keep things lean and um, home office, and most of my work is done at my client's site, so I don't really
Yeah.
need an office or I don't need to host meetings, and if I do, they're virtual or I'm there on site with them. Uh, so it's been a very lean operation. Now with the clinical research side, that's a whole different story. Now we're talking about an actual clinic area, and I'm looking at the Jollyville area. There's a lot of clinics there, and standard of care, not research clinics, and a lot of potential for referrals for patients to come and participate in these clinical research trials. So I like that area. Plus it's close to home, and and it's being developed. Like the 183 corridor has got two major hospital systems a little further up north past 45. They're have that really big Dell system, and
Yeah.
the one that's right across from Breaker right there. There's so many different large uh hospital systems right there, and it's a good area.
Yes. Well, I there's a few things you said I really want to unpack here. This is incredible. Well, okay, so let's take it back. I want to talk on the book, and then I want to talk on the new clinical site because I think those are some really epic milestones that our audience would love to learn more about because that is a really unique way to market is the book. Now, before we get into that, how many years have you been in business with your company? Since
14.
2011,
So
you said?
2011. So
Okay.
April Fool's 2011 was my first day in business because I didn't really think it would last. I thought that I would have to hire on with the company and be leveraged, and which is what happens to most ex-FDA people. They hire onto a company that promised them the world, and then they're cycled out after 2 years of setting up a system. They're like, well, you're kind of expensive, so we're going to get these junior guys to come in and fill the gap. But which is fine, but do that as a consultant. You don't need to, because I've been embedded for years at a company, and that's exactly what happened, right? They didn't ask me to become a member. They said, well, great, thanks for setting all this up.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good one. I'm like, thank you for collaborating, no hard
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. And so I want to dive into the book. Now, has that primarily been how you're kind of marketing yourself, or is
My
that
only market. That's it. I don't
really?
I don't do shows, expos, I don't do Google searches, nothing. This has sustained me for 14 years.
That is incredible. Now, does that kind of trickle down into referrals? Do you get referral clients or anything like that?
So my name is being whispered in back rooms, even though it's everything I do is under strict confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
But these sponsors, they go to meetings, they go to trade shows, they go to different events where they're together, and they're like, hey, I saw that you got approval for this product. Who did your inspections, or who coached you? They're like, TradeStone coached us. You need to call them. And I've helped at least 60 different sponsors. They're either device firms, combination products where it's a drug and a device, a biologic, or a straight pharmaceutical drug. And I've been part of some of the first approvals for gene therapies. In 2017, there were three of them, and I assisted with two of those three, and those are first of kind. I mean, we've been trying to do curative gene therapy for decades, and to be a part of that as a inspector in the FDA, like in 2003 timeframe, I was one of
Mm-hmm.
the first inspectors to do those type of audits because they
Mm-hmm.
came with the clinic site and the manufacturing. It was all done in the same space. So someone from the center would come, like a PharmD or someone with credentials would come and assist with those review of the manufacturing part. But yeah, so the book itself, it covers some of the management issues at FDA, the information technology issues like the computer systems they're utilizing. It covered some of the good things, that are going on, but also I kind of got the first chapter is all about food and
Mm,
how food is should be considered medicinal. If you eat right, you don't have to take a bunch of medicines
hmm.
to help you with your blood pressure or your diabetes or your uh, heart disease or whatever it is. Some of that's genetic, and you have to really be careful, but a lot of it is just our diet. And I
Yeah.
think my book has been really uh, come up because of the new administration and the new push for better food, better bread, better non-toxified food with glyphosate and all these things. But so the
Hmm.
whole chapter, it's a lot of people fall asleep in that first chapter, but they don't realize how important food is. And if you're just eating to survive, you're not living, you're existing. And I try to put that point across because I don't think we should have so much toxified food, and our water is becoming a pharmaceutical cabinet, right? If you're not filtering your tap water, you are getting so many pharmaceuticals in that water that you're
Yeah.
drinking. It's not good because the water system doesn't filter that out. But anyway,
That's
so the rest of it goes into clinical trials and these other parts of FDA that FDA did not want this book out because they didn't want any exposure of their internal issues. And I didn't care. I said, look, if I'm breaking any laws, you can come after me. But if I'm not, you need to stay away and I don't want to hear from you.
wow. I think that's incredible that you're using that. And now I want to kind of shift gears into the clinic, the center you're building. How now that's going to obviously expand your brand, your company. Now, are you looking at bringing on employees to help run that
We'll have to.
facility? And like tell me
Yes,
about that process. Where are you at in that journey
sure.
right now?
Right. So I did a whole year with a clinical research organization, contract research organization in San Antonio. They are listed on my LinkedIn. I won't bring them up, but they they in their contract they said you have to say you work with us. So most of my clients say you cannot say anything about what you've done. You can't say you work with us, anything. Okay, I sign it. This one they said, hey, we want you to showcase that we work with you. Okay. Um, I worked at basically a clinical research site, and for a year I was the director of quality. And as I was doing that, I was thinking, wow, I can do this. Like this is something I could set up. And then I went to go audit. After I finished that, I went to go audit a site in Dearborn, and the guy was like, "Hey, my client," he said, "You ever thought of opening up your own clinic site?" And this was probably like 3.5 years ago. And I was like, I don't know, maybe. But I was thinking about it. But it seems like a lot of work. And then I thought about it a little more and I said, okay, you know what? I am going to get a company name. I'm gonna incorporate in Texas. I already have all that. Then the one of the doctors that I worked with in San Antonio, um, they were fired, and they were fired because their health was deteriorating. They were getting blood clots, and they were starting to say that there was a relationship to the COVID shot. And so they
Mm,
didn't like that. They didn't want to hear that. They didn't want to be sued. So they released her. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm thinking of opening up a clinic. Would you be my doctor? Would you be the one that runs it? She said, yes, I would. I need a little help. I need to get through some health stuff and, you know, get rid of these clots. And I was like, okay. So it'll have probably like 4 employees, uh, a couple of licensed medical professionals, an office person, a manager, and one other kind of like a paramedic or research coordinator. So it won't start off big, but our plans are to expand to, at least a dozen employees, and all, Austin area local individuals. There's a lot of when I look on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people that are looking for different opportunities or better opportunities, or they don't want to be a part of a big system that doesn't value their time or their collaboration. And so yeah, I mean, we're hoping to get a clinic about 5 rooms size, with a like like a meeting room, and then a couple of other areas. Like we need an area for the drug products, and then my dad's still a pharmacist. His job fired him because he got cancer and he was costing a lot, and he was having to go for treatment. So I'm going to
Mhm.
hire him as well to be my in-house pharmacist, and he'll maintain his pharmacy license and assist. Not every clinic has a pharmacist, but I think it's important. Some of the things that I've seen go on, um,
Mhm.
were like, if you had a pharmacist, this would have never happened. But anyway, so yeah, I plan on this being a bigger deal, and I might the people that I'm working with in Michigan, they say, hey, look, we think we want clinics in San Antonio and Houston, and we want it to be under your brand with our partnership. And so the name of the company is Gene Vector Institute. We'll just go by GVI because that's a mouthful to say, but pretty soon on LinkedIn, my that'll be an entity, since it already is incorporated and established.
Mhm.
But not until we get a lease on the clinic, right? Because then it's just an empty shell for now. But the next couple of months, I'm hoping to sign the contracting and the lease, and have that purple "we're hiring" sign on my LinkedIn, and go from there, and see what happens. Uh, you know, it's a big deal because phase one, phase two, phase three clinic sites, um, are there's probably like 50 of them in Austin,
Mhm.
but in other areas there's hundreds. Like in Houston, there's hundreds, and San Antonio has a pretty big size clinic research site as well for being a smaller town. Austin has a lot more like dental and optical clinical research sites. They focus on different things. So that's why I liked Austin, because there's not really a full spectrum clinic site. You know, there's some big giant operations, but not like us. So we'll see how that goes, if the brand follows, because it won't be under the same name. But I didn't really want to have everything under the same brand name. It just
Uh, so
didn't fit.
I want to interject here and ask, is so this the GVI, they're going to be a partner, or are they kind of, is it going to be mostly their brand as like the clinic branded under that?
So they have their own brand,
Okay.
and they're operating under that. This will be a brand new entity.
Okay.
uh I will be garnering business and I will be doing quality control reviews, but
Mm-hmm.
I won't really be doing the work because that would be a conflict of interest to be an owner and operator in that space. You don't want a regulatory body, whether it's FDA or EMA, MHRA, the European partners. You don't
Mm-hmm.
want them to come in here and see you, owning it and working it and doing. You hire professionals to do all that because they're medically trained, and I'm not. I have a master's degree in biotechnology. I couldn't do what a doctor does. I wouldn't even try. Yes, I've been reviewing patient records for the better part of 30 years, but that doesn't mean anything. That just
Mm-hmm.
means I can follow a chart and see if the so every clinical research project has a protocol. Did you follow
Mm-hmm.
the protocol? And is it listed here on your source records that you did? But it doesn't help me understand, the intricacies of cancer or heart disease or any disease state that these healthcare products are assisting with or managing. So I will lean on employees that are professionals and be thankful that they're there and assisting with these sponsor projects.
Yeah, definitely. Now, looking at the employees themselves, how are you planning to get those employees? Do you have a strategy in place on hiring? How does that look for you?
So my principal investigator, she's worked with a lot of different professionals, some from the San Antonio area, some from San Marcos or the surrounding areas. So I'm going to lean on her a bit because a lot of individuals want to work with her, but we will be putting ads out in LinkedIn, for as long as the openings are there, and we'll be, uh, I've used some headhunters before, like
Hmm.
that are pretty strategic in the type of individuals that they have on their dossiers. But I, after working with so many companies, uh, I have already kind of targeted some of the individuals that I want to call, that I worked with in San Antonio, that some of them lived in Austin. I'm like, why are you commuting every day? They're like, this is all I have. And I'm like thinking in the back of my head, wow, if I ever do open something up in Austin, I'm calling you because I know you don't want to do this anymore. This is expensive to
Yeah,
work in San Antonio, but live in Austin. You have to go through that every day. No,
that road
that's
construction.
not very efficient.
Yes. Well, we are kind of coming up on time, so I want to ask you a couple more questions. Again, thank you so much for sharing everything so far. One of my questions I love to ask is if you could wave a magic wand and rapidly improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
Um, how many clients I get to, I can only work maybe 3 weeks a month or so because there's so much background information and reports and other things like this. I would have liked to work with more because I've had a lot of business I've had to pass on to other partners, other FDA people, and um, one other thing though, I may have also partnered with individuals to make a group because we're all kind of solo lone wolf operators. Some of them do migrate back into industry where they hire on, but one of the guys did start a business and he doesn't really do audits anymore, which I kind of still would want to do. He's more of a
Mm,
business person. So if you go the all business route, you it's very lucrative. I mean, you could make a lot.
mm-hmm.
But my passion is in the work. It's not in the business side. Like I want to look at these new products. I want to see the patient records. So I've kind of limited myself because I want to do the work. And
Yeah.
if you want to do the work, you can't be the business mouse as well. You just can't. And that's one thing. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Before we wrap up with our final question for today, how can people connect with you and your company online?
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter, Bimo QA, BIMO QA. Um, my book is all over the place, Amazon. I have my own website, TradeStoneQA.com. It gives a lot of my background and links to my social medias. And I do a lot of I am, always working. So like I don't have a lot of output. My passion is, getting with my clients and getting into their projects and letting them know, yeah, this is going to make it to market, or no, that this isn't going to, FDA is not going to go for this. And I've had to say that more times than I like to admit, but only probably less than 8% make it to market.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of failure out there, and failure for different reasons. And it's hard to see that so much is put into these projects, millions or billions of dollars, and
Mm-hmm.
for it to just not make it to market at the very last hurdle. And
Mm,
but I have been there, and some clients don't take that very well, and they get upset, and I have to use verbal judo and FBI interview tactics on them. But I just tell them, look, this is the way it is. This is the evidence. Here's the deliverables.
well, thank you for sharing that. For the final question today, this is a fun one. What is most inspiring to you today?
So I've lost some of my family members to cancer, some my age, some older. Those individuals inspire me every day. I
Mm,
wake up to uh, continue the crusade against cancer or these debilitating disease states for cures, and it motivates me. It's my passion, um, and it helps me sleep at night knowing that I'm doing something.
that is very powerful and very inspiring. Again, thank you so much, Patrick, for your time today. It's been such a joy to talk to you.
Thank you, Kay, and thank you, listeners.